Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Aftermath series. Let us waste no time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. Now, can we just stop for 1 second and just talk about how absolutely amazing that new intro was? My goodness, the amount of talented people that are in this community just astounds me, and it was just such a beautiful new title sequence. The animations were absolutely incredible. The song, the Ashley and Laura and Sam and Travis with their little backup vocals is absolutely beautiful. Such a masterpiece of a new intro. I am absolutely in love with it, and I would be lying if I said I didn't watch it about like 20 times afterwards. But yeah, I just needed to get that out of my system real quick because that was absolutely amazing. Let me know what you guys think of that because I was completely blown away. But now for this episode, there's really not too much that I need to talk about. There wasn't too many things that happened that I think needed to be discussed deeper. It was a nice break episode from the high tension that we've had the past few episodes. It was a nice segue into a bit of a calmer session that did quickly turn very interesting towards the end as they were fighting the legend Dishilla. Now, if they had indeed killed Dishilla, I'm pretty sure they would have gone down in history as the slayers of a legend. Dishilla is literally a legend that has her own song. So if the Mighty Nine were able to get rid of her and kill her, I'm pretty sure their names would go around the community. That is, if they let others know of their triumph. We do know that the Mighty Nine likes to stay relatively low-key, however, they haven't really done too much of a good job at that recently. So, who knows, maybe they would like to claim the title of Dishilla Slayers or something else creative. But the couple things that I do want to talk about are extremely, I don't think I've used this adjective before, interesting. It seemed that Ford was almost bloodthirsty or power hungry upon absorbing the eye. And immediately upon absorbing the eye, he seemed interested in the stone slab or design that had the spirals and the runes on it. He seemed particularly interested in it and wanted to figure out what it was used for. And he was sort of manipulating Caleb in a way because he knows that Caleb desires knowledge and just loves learning new things. And he was using that personality trait of Caleb to try to manipulate him into getting him to do what he wanted. And that was trying to activate this runic thing. I'm not really sure what it was. And Caleb, not truly knowing what Ford's intentions are with Uk'otoa and possibly unleashing him, took a huge risk because it's possible that Caleb thought Ford knew that this sort of altar thing was another one of those things that needed to be activated to release Uk'otoa. And so the fact that Caleb exchanged doing Ford's wishes for a favor tells us how much weight Caleb puts on what he's trying to accomplish personally, but also that he weighs that kind of a favor against possibly activating another shrine to release Uk'otoa, which would just cause absolute devastation to the world that we assume. So the fact that he's willing to do that for a simple favor is very interesting. The fact that Ford sort of manipulated Caleb in a way to do what he wanted is also slightly disturbing. But I also could be reading into that entirely wrong, and I apologize if that didn't make much sense. It kind of didn't make much sense as I was saying it, but maybe you guys can decipher what I say. I kind of just say random things and hope that it makes a coherent sentence. And then as they go about trying to activate it, slashing their hands and trying to put as much blood into this thing as possible, it's clear that Ford is willing to sacrifice a lot of himself in order to get what he wants. Because he said he was willing to take 20 damage, which I suppose he did since they almost completely activated it, but then stopped. Ford called it off. Now we know that one of Uk'otoa's words he uses on Ford is provoke. Now I would definitely say he provoked whatever that altar was, but was he also provoking Caleb? Was he maybe testing Caleb? Was he testing his loyalty, maybe? Was he testing how far Caleb is willing to go for the sake of knowledge? Because after they had sacrificed so much blood and pain, Ford just called it off. Maybe he thought Caleb had proven himself. Maybe he didn't really want to see it activate or see what it could do. He just wanted to provoke it. That's most likely the case since Travis, at the end of the episode, made a slight comment about wanting to provoke it. Sometimes you have to provoke things. So that's probably the explanation, but it's a very, very important moment that we should definitely take note of, as Caleb did, because he made mention to Matt that he took one of his other books that he had sort of holstered inside his cloak, and he decided to write inside of it. Now, I think that it may be a journal of important events that happened, that just so he doesn't forget, that sort of helps his keen mind ability. He rested on important events that happened, and in this case, he decided to write down that Ford owed him a favor, and the whole event that transpired there, it seemed rather important to Caleb that this whole thing happened, since I feel like he doesn't fully trust Ford, but he can't figure out his true motives still. And how traumatizing for Jester to see two of, you know, her traveling companions, her friends, her family, just completely like cut open their hands and just slam them into this altar. That's gonna be a conversation that all three of them will likely have in the next episode. And I am so ready for a nice deep talk between Ford and Caleb after that traumatizing incident. And oh man, I, like many others, and even some of the people around the table, after they got back onto the boat and Orly was like, alright, where are we headed? And Ford immediately said to set course to the archipelago, I was immediately like, oh my god, this man is actually power hungry and he's blinded by unlocking Uk'otoa. Like, when he said that, I was like, it was set in stone that Ford only cares about unlocking Uk'otoa and receiving this gift. And honestly, I was 100% for that. I was so on board, like I had chills. I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. This is insane. Ford might actually be evil. Unfortunately, Travis only forgot that the Squall Eater was in need of repairs and forgot that they needed to repair the ship before going further on their quest. But oh man, would that have been an insane drop at the end of the episode, as Ford being sort of this power-hungry, possibly evil maniac. Maybe that's going a little bit too far, but evil is definitely on the level of Ford if what he was saying was what he intended. But with all that being said, we are going to wrap up. I know it was a bit shorter of an episode, and we didn't go too deep into it, but I feel like this is one of those sort of filler episodes. I feel like in the next ones to come, there's going to be much more to discuss about once they have a time to settle down and have these conversations. As I said before, you know, they're still internalizing and sort of trying to figure out for themselves everything that just happened, and now this whole ordeal just happened. So I would assume once they get to their location to repair their ship, they're going to have time to sort of talk amongst themselves, and then we can get into all the juicy stuff. But for the time being, let me know what you guys think of that episode. Let me know what you guys think of that Ford and Caleb moment, and what this journal is that Caleb is writing in, and possibly Ford's true intentions and maybe reasoning behind his sudden sort of change in personality upon absorbing the eye. Let me know in the comments section below, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next week.